Let's start with a situation that might sound eerily familiar. You've been telling yourself for weeks, maybe months, that you need to move more. Get off the couch, step away from the desk, do something good for your health. So finally, you lace up your shoes, head outside, and take a nice, easy 30-minute walk around your neighborhood. At first, it feels great. You're breathing fresh air, loosening your joints, enjoying the sun on your face. Maybe you start thinking, I should have done this ages ago. But then, somewhere around the last block, or maybe when you step back inside your house and finally sit down, you notice it. That dull, nagging ache across your lower back. Sometimes it's like a tight belt squeezing right above your hips. Sometimes it's more off to one side, off on the right, with a little hot spot that almost feels bruised. Other times it's just a general sense of stiffness, like your spine has turned into a rigid steel rod. So what do you tell yourself? Probably something like, I must have overdone it. Guess I stood too long. My back's just not used to being upright. Or even, I probably need to sit down and rest. Being on my feet this long is hard on my back. And so you sit, maybe on the couch, maybe in your car if you're running errands after your walk, maybe back at your desk. And for a little while, it seems like the pain eases, until later that day, or the next time you go for another walk, and the cycle starts all over again. Why most people completely misunderstand this pain. Here's the big problem. Most people blame the wrong culprit. They believe the act of standing or walking is what causes their back pain, that simply being on their feet too long overloads the spine. So the common sense reaction is to sit more, rest more, avoid being on their feet. They might even avoid walking altogether, thinking they're protecting their back. But here's what's really going on. Your lower back isn't hurting because walking is bad for it. Your lower back is hurting because of how your body moves or fails to move properly when you walk. In fact, walking itself is one of the best things you can do for your spine, if your body mechanics are working right. If they aren't, every step you take is a little reminder that your system is out of balance, and your lower back ends up taking on jobs it was never designed to do. A quick look inside. What's supposed to happen when you walk? When you walk, your body is meant to share the workload in a beautifully choreographed system. Your hips should be mobile enough to allow your legs to swing smoothly forward and backward, keeping motion out of your lower spine. Your glutes, especially your glute max and glute medius, should fire to propel you forward and stabilize your pelvis. Your deep core muscles, think transverse abdominis and multifidus, should lightly brace, holding your spine steady like a guy wire on a tower. Meanwhile, your diaphragm and pelvic floor coordinate your breathing, managing pressure inside your abdomen so your spine stays supported. In this system, your lower back plays a mostly quiet, stabilizing role. It's there to transfer load, keep your trunk aligned, and allow energy to move efficiently from your legs up through your torso. The reality, why your lower back ends up overworking. But for most people today, that perfect system has fallen apart. Thanks to years of modern life, long hours sitting at a desk, lounging on couches, driving in cars, we've trained our bodies into a very different pattern. Our hip flexors become tight and stiff, so the hips lose their ability to fully extend behind us when we walk. Our glutes become sleepy and underactive, not firing properly to push us forward. Our deep core muscles stop bracing automatically, because sitting all day has taught them to switch off. Even our breathing becomes shallow and chest-based, reducing the support that diaphragmatic breathing gives our spine. So what happens when we finally stand up and go for a walk? Our lower back tries to compensate. It picks up the slack for stiff hips that can't swing back. It tries to stabilize for a weak core that isn't bracing. It absorbs shock that should have been handled by strong, active glutes. Over time, even within the span of a single 20-minute walk, this compensation starts to show up as tightness, aching, or fatigue in the lower back. Your brain reads this as, danger, we're not stable, lock it down. And your muscles tighten up even more. A common story, meet Sarah. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah is 48, works at a desk, and spends about 9 hours a day sitting. She started noticing some lower back stiffness about a year ago. At first, it was just when she stood up from her chair after long Zoom meetings. but it always went away, so she ignored it. Then one day she decided to start walking daily. Her doctor had said it would be great for her heart and weight. So every evening, she walked around her neighborhood for about 30 minutes. At first, she loved it. She felt accomplished. But by the end of the first week, she noticed her lower back was feeling more tender, not just when she stood, but during the walk itself. By the second week, she found herself cutting the walk short because her back started to seize up halfway through. So what did Sarah do? She blamed the walking. She thought, I'm probably too heavy for long walks. Maybe my back just isn't strong enough. I'll rest for a few days. But when she rested, her hips got even tighter, her core got even lazier, and the next walk hurt even sooner. Sarah was stuck in the exact trap that millions of people fall into. They think the walking is the problem, so they avoid it. The real problem, how their body is moving, never gets fixed, so their back keeps hurting worse and worse, even with less activity. The uncomfortable truth, and why this is actually good news. Here's what nobody told Sarah, and probably nobody told you either. Your back doesn't hurt from simply standing or walking. It hurts because standing and walking expose imbalances that are already there. They force your body to show its cards, to reveal weaknesses that were hidden while you were sitting. And that's actually good news, because it means if you address those hidden issues, tight hips, sleepy glutes, inactive core, walking can go back to being what it was always meant to be, one of the healthiest things you can do for your spine. A sneak peek at what's next. In the next section, we're going to break down exactly what's happening inside your body when you walk that leads to your lower back taking on too much stress. We'll talk about subtle signs to look for in your gait and posture that reveal these compensation patterns, and set you up with simple checks to see if your hips and core are doing their job. Because once you see it, you can start fixing it. And that's how you stop fearing that evening walk and start enjoying again without worrying about your lower back paying the price. It feels unfair, but there's a logical and surprisingly mechanical explanation for it. Let's open up that black box and see exactly why your spine ends up overworked every time you try to do something as basic as walk. The natural design, how your body is supposed to handle walking. When your body is functioning the way it was built to, walking is one of the safest, most efficient movements you can do. It's practically hardwired into your nervous system. Here's the typical blueprint. Your hips act as powerful, mobile ball and socket joints. Allow your thighs to swing forward and backward. That takes much of the stress off your spine. Your gluteal muscles, especially your gluteus maximus and medius, fire on each step to drive your leg behind you and keep your pelvis stable from tilting side to side. Your deep core muscles engage reflexively to keep your lumbar spine stable, preventing it from arching excessively or wobbling with every stride. Your diaphragm and pelvic floor coordinate your breath and intra-abdominal pressure, effectively bracing your trunk from the inside out. Even your upper back and arms play a role, counter-rotating slightly to balance your gait and reduce twisting forces on your lumbar spine. In this ideal setup, your lower back, your lumbar vertebrae and their surrounding small stabilizing muscles don't have to do much heavy lifting at all. They just act as a stable bridge, transmitting force smoothly between your legs and your torso. The reality for most people, a body that's lost its coordinated orchestra. But for most people today, decades of modern life have fundamentally changed how this system works. Think about your average day. Sitting for hours at a desk, hunched slightly forward. Driving in a car, hips flexed, core relaxed, shoulders rounded. Standing in line, shifting your weight onto one leg, letting your belly hang forward. Rarely taking full, deep breaths into your belly. Most breathing is shallow and chest-driven. All of this has serious consequences. Your hip flexors shorten and stiffen, limiting how far your thigh can extend behind you. Your glutes get lazy, not firing properly because they've been lengthened and inactive for so long. Your deep core muscles disengage, because sitting with a backrest trains your body to let external support do all the work. Even your diaphragm stops coordinating well with your pelvic floor, so your ability to stabilize from the inside is compromised. So what happens when you finally go out for that healthy walk? How your lower back ends up compensating, step by painful step. Imagine your body as a team of workers lifting a heavy beam. Normally, the hips, glutes, core, and legs would all grab a piece. Your lower back would just supervise, coordinating the lift. But now, picture that your hips refuse to move well. Your glutes are asleep. Your core calls in sick. Who's left to hold the entire load? Your lower back. Every step you take, your thighs should be extending backward from your hip joint. But if your hip is stiff and can't achieve full extension, your body still needs to propel forward somehow. So it cheats by arching your lower back more, increasing lumbar lordosis to fake that extra motion. This means your lumbar vertebrae jam together, your facet joints compress, and your small stabilizing muscles work overtime to maintain balance. Meanwhile, if your glutes aren't stabilizing your pelvis, each time you step onto one leg, your pelvis might tip or wobble slightly. Your lower back has to tighten up even more to keep your trunk upright. Add to this a core that's not bracing well. So every foot strike sends shock waves up your spine without being absorbed by intra-abdominal pressure. Once again, your lower back tries to compensate by stiffening up. Small misalignments multiplied by thousands of steps. Now, walking might not seem like much force, but it's incredibly repetitive. In a single mile, you'll take roughly 2,000 steps. Even on a modest 20-minute walk, your spine undergoes thousands of these tiny impacts and compensations. If every step is slightly misaligned, your hip not fully extending, your glute not firing, your core not bracing, that's thousands of small strains accumulating into a bigger problem. Your brain senses this instability, so it sends signals to tighten your lower back muscles even more as a protective measure. This muscle guarding is meant to keep you from moving in risky ways, but also reduces blood flow and leads to that stiff, achy, sometimes even burning sensation in your lumbar area after walking. The mistaken idea that your back just gets tired from holding you up, most people wrongly assume. My back hurts after walking because my spine is simply tired from holding me upright. But here's the truth. Your spine is structurally designed to hold you up all day long, provided the right muscles and joints are doing their jobs. Your spine is like the mast of a ship. It stands tall because it's held in place by many tension lines, your muscles and fascia, pulling in different directions. If one of those lines goes slack, like your core muscles not activating or your glutes failing to stabilize, the mast becomes unstable, wobbling and flexing under forces it wasn't meant to handle. So your lower back pain after walking isn't a sign your back is weak. It's a sign your supporting systems aren't coordinated, forcing your lower back to take on jobs that should be spread across your entire kinetic chain. A simple visual, the bow and the string. Think about an archery bow. The rigid bow itself is like your spine. The string running from end to end is like your core and hips. If the string is tight and balanced, the bow stands firm, evenly distributing tension. But if the string becomes loose or uneven, maybe slack on one side, the bow bends awkwardly under pressure. When you walk with hips that don't extend well, a core that doesn't stabilize, and glutes that don't fire, it's like trying to shoot arrows with a loose string. Your lower back, the bow, ends up distorting and straining to make up for it. Why this is not what you think. Most people treat their lower back pain after walking as if the problem is the walking itself. They might try to avoid walking altogether or focus on stretching the lower back endlessly, thinking it just needs to be more flexible. But flexibility isn't the issue here. In fact, excessive stretching can sometimes make it worse by reducing the already fragile stability your lower back is clinging to. The real problem isn't your lower back at all. It's that other parts of your body aren't pulling their weight, so your lower back has no choice but to step in. A quick summary before we move on. So to recap, walking is naturally one of the best things you can do for your body, if your hips, core, and glutes are all working together. But modern life has left most people with stiff hips, inactive glutes, and a disengaged core. As a result, when you walk, your lower back tries to compensate. It arches excessively, locks down, and takes on forces it wasn't designed to handle alone. This leads to muscle fatigue, reduced circulation, and that classic post-walk tightness or ache. In the next part, we'll explore how to spot these compensations in yourself. Simple little self-tests you can try at home to see if your hips and core are slacking off, leaving your lower back to suffer. Because once you can see the real problem, you're halfway to fixing it. So by now you've seen why your lower back isn't the real villain. It's simply the region taking a hit because other parts of your body aren't pulling their weight. But how do you actually know if that's what's going on in your body? How can you tell if your hips are stiff, your glutes are asleep, or your core isn't bracing without fancy lab equipment or seeing a physical therapist? The good news is there are small, simple self-tests you can do right at home. They reveal the hidden compensation patterns that force your lower back to overwork every time you walk. Let's go through them one by one. The hip extension test. Can your hips even move backward? This is one of the most important things you can look for, because your hips should provide the bulk of the backward motion extension that propels you forward when you walk. Here's a simple way to check. Stand tall with your feet hip-width apart. Place your hands on the tops of your hips, your iliac crests, without letting your lower back arch. Try to push your right leg straight backward a few inches. Most people find they can't do this without arching their lower back. Their pelvis tilts forward, and their spine takes on a movement that should be happening at the hip joint, or twisting slightly. Their upper body rotates, or shifts to compensate. Try it on your left leg too. You might notice one side moves better than the other. That's a common asymmetry that can explain why some people have more lower back pain on one side after walking. The stand-up test. Who's doing the work, your hips or your spine? This is an easy way to see if your body relies too much on your lower back. Sit on a chair or couch. Cross your arms over your chest so you can't push off with your hands. Now stand up without swinging your torso forward. If you feel your lower back muscles tighten, or if you can't stand up without leaning way forward, it's likely that your hips and glutes aren't driving the movement. Your lower back is trying to help lift your torso. When functioning correctly, your hips and legs extend powerfully, and your spine should stay relatively neutral, not forcibly flex and extend. The mini squat check. Do your knees or your back initiate the movement? Try this with a small partial squat, just a few inches of lowering. Stand tall, feet under your hips. Begin to lower yourself like you're going to sit back onto a chair that's just slightly behind you. Watch for these two signs of compensation. If your knees shoot forward first instead of your hips going back, it means your body is relying on knee strategy over hip hinging. If your lower back rounds first or tucks your tail under, it suggests you're lacking true hip mobility and are bending through the spine. Proper mechanics should look like your hips pushing back while your chest stays tall, distributing the motion through the pelvis, not the lumbar spine. The single leg stand, a quiet giveaway of weak hip stabilizers. This is one of the best checks for glute medius function, a muscle on the side of your hip that keeps your pelvis level. If it's weak or poorly firing, your lower back has to tighten up to keep your torso balanced. Try this. Stand near a wall or counter for balance. Lift your right foot off the ground about 2 inches. Stand on your left leg. Now watch what happens to your pelvis. Does your right hip drop down noticeably? Do you feel your torso sway or shift over the standing leg? Or does your left side lower back immediately tighten up? All of these indicate that instead of your glute medius holding your pelvis level, your spine is trying to stabilize by clamping down. Repeat on the other side. Many people notice one leg is significantly weaker. That can explain why their back pain is more intense on the right or left after walking. The breath check. Is your diaphragm and core even bracing? Lay on your back with your knees bent. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. Take a slow breath in. If your chest rises first and your belly barely moves, you're probably stuck in a shallow, chest-dominant breathing pattern. Try to instead breathe so your belly expands, feeling your sides and even your lower ribs widen. This type of breathing engages your diaphragm, which connects to your deep core muscles. It provides internal bracing that takes load off your spine. If you've lost this pattern, your body will substitute by tightening external back muscles instead. What do these simple tests prove? Each of these quick checks tells you something important. If your hips are tight or you can't extend your leg backward without arching your back, it means your spine is compensating for lost hip movement. If your glutes and hip stabilizers aren't holding your pelvis level on a single leg, your lower back is doing extra side-to-side balancing every step you take. If your core isn't lightly bracing, confirmed by shallow chest breathing, your spine lacks internal support. So again, your lower back tightens as a backup. It all adds up to this. Your lower back isn't overworked because it's weak. It's overworked because everyone else on the team has gone missing. Why this matters so much for walking? Walking might seem gentle, but it's a repetitive, load-transferring activity. Each step sends forces upward that should be shared by flexible, moving hips, strong, balanced glutes, a lightly braced core cylinder, even your ribs and shoulders rotating smoothly. When these parts fail to show up, your lower back becomes a last line of defense. It tries to keep your body upright and moving forward, absorbing forces that were meant to be distributed elsewhere. That's why after a 30-minute walk, you feel like your lower back carried the entire trip, while your hips, core, and glutes practically coasted. And why stretching your back isn't the answer. Most people after these tests, realizing their back is overworking, instinctively try to stretch their lower back. They'll do seated forward bends or spinal twists. It feels good for a moment because you're giving tight muscles a chance to relax. But think about what you just learned. Your lower back is tight because it's trying to stabilize for everyone else. If you stretch it aggressively without fixing the underlying weak or inactive systems, your brain panics later. It responds by tightening your back muscles again, often even more than before, to keep your spine safe. That's why so many people feel caught in an endless loop. Tight back, stretch it, slight relief, tight again, maybe even worse. What this means for you. If you've gone through these little home checks and recognize yourself, hips stiff, glutes weak, core not bracing, don't worry. That's actually empowering. It means you finally identified the real reasons your lower back hurts after walking. And that means you can start addressing the root problem instead of endlessly treating symptoms. In the next section, we'll lay out a simple, practical plan. You'll learn 3 easy things to start doing today. Small changes to your walking prep and your daily routine that wake up your hips, glutes, and core, so your lower back can finally stop doing double duty and just be the stable bridge it was always meant to be. So far, we've uncovered a lot. You now know your lower back pain after walking usually isn't caused by your back being weak or your spine getting tired of holding you up. It's caused by other areas, your hips, glutes, and core, not doing their job, leaving your lower back no choice but to step in and handle everything. But here's the best part of this entire conversation. You can fix this. And you don't have to overhaul your entire life, join a gym, or give up walking. It comes down to retraining a few small but powerful patterns so your body distributes forces properly and your spine can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The simple 3-step blueprint to protect your back while you walk. Let's lay it out in clear, practical steps. Each of these targets the 3 biggest problems we exposed in the last section: stiff hips, lazy glutes, and a core that's fallen asleep. If you start doing these daily, even lightly, you'll be shocked how much better your lower back feels. Not just after walking, but throughout the day. 1. Wake up your hips before you walk. Most people's hip joints are locked up from years of sitting. When your hips can't move, your lower back compensates by flexing or extending excessively. So before you start your walk, do a 2-minute hip mobility primer. It doesn't have to be fancy. Try this simple sequence. Standing hip swings. Stand tall, hold a wall or chair for balance. Swing one leg forward and backward gently, letting your hip open up. Do 15 to 20 swings per side. Small side-to-side leg swings. Face the wall sideways and gently swing your leg across your body and out to the side. Again, 15 to 20 per leg. This re-lubricates your hip joints and reminds your body that your legs should be doing the majority of the swinging, not your lower spine. 2. Reactivate your glutes so your lower back doesn't push you forward. Weak or lazy glutes are one of the main reasons people overextend their lower back while walking. If your butt muscles aren't pushing you forward, your lumbar spine tries to create the motion by arching, compressing discs, and tightening muscles. Before you walk, try a quick glute activation drill. Standing glute squeeze. Simply stand upright, feet under hips, and squeeze your butt cheeks together firmly for 5 seconds. Feel them contract. Release. Repeat 10 times. Mini step backs. Stand tall. Take a small step back with one foot. Keep your torso tall and feel your glute fire on the front leg to stabilize. Alternate legs for about a minute. These tiny movements wake up your glutes' neuromuscular connection. That means when you start walking, your brain is more likely to recruit your glutes with each step, instead of defaulting to your lower back. 3. Lightly brace your core to protect your spine without gripping. This might be the most misunderstood piece. Many people think core bracing means sucking in their belly button or flexing their abs like they're doing a crunch. But that just makes you stiff and breathless. What your spine needs is a gentle 360-degree brace, almost like creating pressure inside a soda can. It doesn't collapse because the internal pressure holds it strong. Before your walk, or even a few times during it, practice this. Place your hands on your sides, just above your hips. Take a slow inhale through your nose, feeling your belly and sides expand outward into your hands. Now exhale through your mouth, like blowing through a straw, and lightly draw your belly in, feeling your sides stay wide. Repeat for 5 breaths. This helps your diaphragm and deep transverse abdominis coordinate, creating internal pressure that stabilizes your spine without needing your lower back muscles to clamp down. How to keep these working while you walk. Now that you've primed your hips, glutes, and core, keep them lightly engaged during your walk. Let your hips move. As you walk, imagine your legs swinging from your hips, not from your lower back. Your spine should stay relatively quiet. Push off with your glutes. Focus on lightly pushing the ground behind you with each step, letting your butt muscles extend your hip instead of arching your back. Breathe low and wide. Avoid shallow chest breathing. Try to feel your lower ribs and belly expand with each inhale, which keeps your core cylinder naturally engaged. Small resets if your back starts to tighten mid-walk. If you notice your lower back starting to tighten up halfway through a walk, don't panic and don't immediately stop and stretch your back. Instead, try these quick resets right on the sidewalk or trail. Pause and do a small hip hinge. Stand with feet under hips. Push your butt back slightly like you're about to sit. Keep your spine neutral. This shifts the load back into your hips. Mini glute squeezes. Stand tall. Squeeze your butt for 3 to 5 seconds. Release. Do it 5 to 6 times. This turns glutes back on and tells your lower back to relax. Gentle belly breaths. Put a hand on your belly. Take 3 slow breaths, feeling your stomach rise and fall. This wakes up the diaphragm and reduces lower back guarding. Often these tiny resets are enough to diffuse tension before it builds into real pain. Why this works better than stretching your back. Most people's go-to is to stretch their lower back forward. But remember from part 3, your back is tight because it's trying to protect you. If you yank on it without fixing the reasons it was tightening, it will just clamp down again later, often even harder. What actually works is showing your nervous system that your hips can move, your glutes can stabilize, your core can brace your spine. Once your brain senses that, it stops ordering your lower back muscles to over-tighten. Your lumbar region finally gets to be what was meant to be, a stable, quiet bridge between your legs and torso. Putting it all together, your new pre-walk ritual. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. Here's a sample 3-minute flow before you head out. Hip swings front/back and side/side, 1 minute total. Standing glute squeezes and mini step backs, 1 minute. 5 slow belly breaths with gentle brace, 1 minute. Then start your walk, focusing on pushing with your hips and glutes and breathing low into your ribs. Every 10 minutes, pause for 10 seconds to squeeze your glutes and take 1 or 2 hip hinges. That's it. Tiny changes that completely change the way forces travel through your body, saving your lower back from being the only structure doing the work. Wrapping up, your back pain is mechanical, and that means it's fixable. So here's what I want you to remember from everything we've covered. Your lower back isn't breaking down because it's fragile. It's hurting because it's compensating for other parts of your body that aren't working right. That's actually the best news possible because it means you can fix it. Restore hip motion. Wake up glutes to stabilize and drive. Let your core lightly brace to take pressure off your spine. Walking then becomes what was always meant to be, a fantastic, natural movement that nourishes your spine rather than drains it. Now I want to hear from you. When you walk, do you feel your lower back more on one side? In the center? Does it start tight right away, or only after 20 minutes? Drop it in the comments below. And if this opened your eyes or helped you feel hopeful, give it a like. And subscribe, because next, we're diving into the tiny daily habits that twist your lower back without you realizing it, and how to break them.